Okay, guys, today is Sunday, the 6th of August. I had a dream this morning, so I came right and wrote it down. But recently, for probably the past month or so, I've been having very clear dreams that I remember. So just making a note of that. But in these dreams, I see before, when I would have a dream, I would call it a nightmare, because what would happen was I would get to this point where things would go crazy in my dream, like either I was being attacked or, put in a weird situation where I had to stand up for myself and I wouldn't be able to speak. Like I would, it was weird. I mean, it's been like that for as long as I can remember. I would go to hit somebody and my arms would turn to jello. And so, it's been about the past month and my dreams have completely, or nightmares, whatever you want to say, however you want to phrase it, would have turned from nightmares into dreams, because I am now able to assert myself in my dreams for the first time and I don't even know how long. So yeah, I came straight and wrote this down. It's the evening now. It's late in the evening. I got tied up doing other things today, so I wanted to come and make this video. I just woke up from a dream, enraged. It was actually a long, drawn-out dream. The first part of that dream is irrelevant to the part I'm about to share. It was sort of strange, really, because I almost woke up prior to the last part that enraged me. I'll explain. There were a bunch of people I knew at a small-sized church in the countryside, one of those old-style stone churches that are two-story in the front with like an A-frame second story. Large stained glass windows adorned the front. It had a wide stone stairway that led up to the entrance and a nice-sized landing in front of the tall double doors that is normal for those types of buildings. The first part of my dream consisted of me and the crew of people that accompanied me trying to get there. The second part of the dream took place inside. What business transpired inside was complete, and it was almost as if the dream had ended there. The last part of that particular phase of the dream had ended, and I was inside the church with the others who took part in it. And then things went black. I was assuming the dream had ended, and I felt as though there was a distance being gained between me and that place, when all of a sudden I felt like I was being summoned back. Immediately, I felt my conscience being pulled, almost like I was slowly reappearing at the place, but this time outside. It sort of felt like how you envision teleportation in the old Star Trek shows. Not an instantaneous manifestation, but the complete appearance taking a matter of a few seconds. I found myself in the gravel parking lot that was directly in front of the wide, light-colored stone staircase leading up to the landing in front of the church. There were a dozen or more people standing on the stairs and landing. As soon as my apparition had taken full form, I was moving quickly out of the gravel lot, heading towards the doors. Again, I felt that there was unfinished business, so I had a purpose. Assuming it was inside where I had left off, I quickly made my way up the stone stairs and onto the landing, heading to the large double doors. I was quite focused on getting to where I felt I was needed and maneuvered around the dozen or more preteen and teenage people, all of whom I recognized, that had gathered on the stairs and the landing. I was making my way around them when, upon hitting the landing and only being about 10 feet away from the entrance, my attention was drawn to a commotion at the front doors. I realized immediately that is why the crowd was gathered, and they were all drawn to the situation I had come upon. There, standing with his back almost pressed up against the far door, was a teen, I would say about the age of 14 to 15 years old. Now, I will also note that my dreams, including this one, have been full of people from my past who can show up all at varying ages and randomly. By randomly, I mean friends, family, and acquaintances who never met, but would all be in a group with shared experience, and again, they would be all varying ages. It wasn't like I could peg down an exact time period that my dream would take place as some adults would be a child in my dreams and some children I've known would be quite older. Anyways, the teen I saw was almost pressed against the door, and he would have been fully, but there was one more stone step that was only a few inches wide, too small to stand on, which kept his back just far enough from being able to rest against it. In front of him and leaning menacingly close were two cops. They were right up in his face. My senses were instantly overwhelmed with the young man's terror. My glance went from his face and my empathy for him to looking at these two cops' face and seeing the pure delight that comes from when a predator has its prey cornered. This enraged me. At once I knew this is why I had been summoned back into my dream. My mission here was not inside. These tyrants, now noticing that the energies had shifted, turned their gaze towards me. This was at the exact moment I firmly and loudly said, "Get out of his face, you fucking bullies. You want to pick on a child? Try fucking with me, you tyrants." I want to note here that the look on the face of the two agents of the state denoted not a soul behind the eyes, but something sinister, something evil. Upon seeing me, it was almost as if that diabolical creature that lurked inside of them attempted to hide, as their faces immediately took on an innocence and an illusory confusion as to try and act like, "Nothing to see here." By the time I had gotten those words out of my mouth, I had already taken my place next to the scared teen. I immediately asserted my personal space as the pigs backed up maybe just a foot, but enough so the kid next to me could get some fresh air. As I said, whatever evilness that was coming through their eyes was now playing coy, and one of these tyrants says, "Everything's okay, we're just talking to him." I immediately called them out and said, "Don't you fucking lie to me, you tyrants. You will back off and leave this child alone." They did not take kindly to this, and immediately the evil creature inside them was summoned forth, and I thought they were going to tag team and try pulling that bully shit on me. Yeah, right. The pig that hadn't spoken yet started to say something. I can't recall what it was coming out of his mouth. My focus was busy processing the fact that when they took turns speaking, it was as if their physical appearances were shifting. Both these assholes had different facial features, but it was as if there was a morphing happening as they were asserting their authority. I could see the same type of being that was inhabiting them both. Their faces were almost indistinguishable from each other as they were seething. Now I really understood why this young man, their victim, looked terrified. I could only imagine what was going through his head if he was seeing the same thing as me. Who the hell would have believed him had he tried telling anyone afterwards what he saw? That the completely different looking cops in front of him took on the same physical characteristics as they had him cornered with no escape from their abuse. I didn't skip a beat and had no patience for their lies. After all, I was walking with a purpose to get back inside, knowing there was something I had missed, and on a mission to see I completed whatever that may be. Well, now standing there side by side with this innocent victim of the state and the door against our backs, there was no relenting. These two Agent Smiths in front of us, seething, reeling, they knew they were going to have to reassert their authority. That sure as hell wasn't going to happen. Not on my watch. I went off and let these two bullies know this shit would proceed no further, and now they had me to deal with. Very quickly, these two realized their game of cat and mouse was over. You could see the defeat in their faces and feel their disappointment in the air. Well, just as quickly as their defeat was realized, another presence made itself known, almost as if materializing in thin air. A demanding voice from a few feet to the left and about 6 feet away says, "I'm in charge here, and you will allow these officers to conduct their business." Looking over at where this commanding voice came from, I could see that this was the captain or sergeant. I immediately sensed the diabolical evilness inside of this asshat. Whatever he was certainly much higher ranking than the two stooges that I had just put in their place. And whatever entity was in control of this parasite certainly came from a level or two deeper out of the depths of hell. I knew right away this guy was used to having his way. that when he said something, it was taken as an order and followed without question. Again, I was having none of it. I pointed my finger at that son of a bitch and said, "You have no authority here." He moved quickly, as he had clearly never had his authority questioned prior to this, and taking one large step in my direction, swatted my hand away and said, "You do not tell me what to do." He was now within 2 feet of me. Upon being physically touched by this pig, I lost it. "You motherfucking assaulted me, you fucking tyrant. Back the fuck up and get out of my space." Upon asserting my authority and calling him out for putting his hands on me, and I'm guessing with so many witnesses in such a small space, he backed up about another foot. Had there been no other witnesses, there is no doubt in my mind this evil psychopath would have definitely shot me in the face. I could feel that evilness that resided inside him wanting to exact its revenge by ending my life. So he backed up and calmed down, obviously out of necessity, seeing how he had no other option than to play the innocent public servant just trying to keep the peace. Again, I hardly let him get in a sentence, and I just kept verbally pouncing and calling out the apparent situation. He was saying something along the lines of having me arrested for disturbing the peace, but I just continued my verbal barrage, assaulting him with every antagonistic thing that came to mind. And just like that, with the snap of the fingers, I was quickly dematerialized out of that place, and the dream was over. I popped out of bed with a rage. I had so much intense energy that I walked downstairs, but headed right back up to sit and write this down while it was still fresh in my mind. So yeah, guys, pretty vivid, intense dream. I'm gonna start, probably writing these dreams down as often as I can, because I've had some interesting ones. But yeah, just figured I'd share.